You wake up to the sound of your alarm at 6 a.m. It's still dark outside. Through the window, you see an empty street, except for a police officer standing on the corner, watching people like they're suspects whose crimes haven't been found yet. You get up slowly. You wash your face, make some coffee, turn on the radio. The announcer talks about the enemies of the nation, about danger getting closer, about the need for discipline, about loyalty. You don't really listen. You're not into politics. All you care about is keeping your job, feeding your family, not getting fired, not being questioned. On your way to the military police station, you fix your uniform carefully. The inspector is coming today. Even a small mistake could be held against you. You arrive at the grey building, pass the guards, sign the book, and go up to your office on the 3rd floor. There, you sit in front of papers, names, dates, ID numbers. You pause to adjust your tie, then open the first file. A man named Isaac Goldstein. The task, signed to transfer him to the Southern Station. You don't really know what happens at that station, but you've heard whispers, rumors about trains, about places people never come back from, but nothing is confirmed. Nothing is official. You hesitate for a second. Then you hear your supervisor's footsteps coming from behind the door. Inside you, a small voice asks, "If I don't sign, will anything change? Am I the one deciding this?" But that voice is quickly shut down by another. "This is just my job. I didn't make the system." You pick up the pen and sign. Now, you're a small part of a bigger machine, a quiet gear, a hand that obeys, a mind that stops thinking. Days go by. You sign dozens, hundreds, thousands of files. You sleep in your bed every night without feeling any real guilt. Weren't you just doing your job? One day, you're told to escort a group of prisoners from the camp to the train. You're given clear instructions. Don't talk to them. Don't show hesitation. Don't look them in the eye. You try to follow the orders, but as you walk beside them, a boy, about 10 years old, turns to you. He's holding a torn stuffed toy in his hand. He looks at you with an expression you can't explain. It's not fear, not hope. It's a silent question. Do you see what's happening? Or are you closing your eyes on purpose? Something stirs inside you, but you don't stop. You don't respond. That night, when you get home, you close the door, take off your shoes, and sit at the table. Your wife asks, "How was your day?" You answer with a small smile. Normal, like always. But inside you, a war has begun. Between the you that just wants peace and the shadow that now speaks with a voice you can't ignore anymore. Who said you're innocent? You're the one who signed. You're the one who led them. You're the one who stayed silent. Then the radio cuts in. Loyalty is proven by action, not by feeling. Doubt is the first step toward betrayal. You turn off the radio and try to sleep, but you know the night isn't the same anymore. You're not really sleeping. You're escaping. And no matter how much you deny it, you've started to know. You know exactly what you were doing. You wake up today feeling like you didn't sleep at all. You wash your face over and over, not to wake up, but like you're trying to wash something off your skin, your eyes, something inside you. On the way to the station, you notice something you hadn't seen before. People in the street don't look at each other. Everyone keeps their eyes down, like eye contact itself has become a crime. You pass a line of civilians standing silently. A soldier holding a list yells at them not to move. You want to ask, where are they going? Why? But you know even asking could make you look suspicious, and the suspicious are watched. You reach the office, sit down, and open your files. One file after another. One signature after the next. Your fingers move quickly, but your mind is stuck on the image of that boy who looked at you. Would I have done the same if I were his age? Then a new order comes from your commanding officer. This time, you're asked to attend an interrogation session with a group of prisoners. You walk into the room and sit behind the glass wall, watching in silence. A man is tied to a chair, stripped of his jacket. Blood and sweat drip from his forehead. The officer questions him calmly. Who was with you? What are their names? The man stays quiet. So the officer nods to a soldier in the corner. Pulse. Increase the pressure. The electricity begins. And you watch. You don't move. You don't protest. You don't speak. You hear him scream, then fade into silence. Inside you, a voice whispers, "I could have stopped this." But another voice replies instantly. Why? For someone you don't even know? To lose your job? To end up in his place? Your eyes drop, and silence takes over. After the session ends, the officer pats your shoulder and says, "Well done. Some people just don't belong in this country." You reply with an empty smile and walk away. But deep down, you know, you've changed. You're not just following orders anymore. You've become part of something. Something you don't have a name for. You don't have the words. But the shadow inside you, it's no longer hidden. That evening, as you sit down for dinner, your young daughter looks up and asks, "Daddy, Are you a hero? You feel something break inside, and you ask yourself, am I? Am I really? Then you answer softly, I do what I'm told, sweetheart, but your shadow laughs, a quiet, cold, tired laugh. And that is exactly what made the Holocaust possible. The next day, you don't get up as quickly. Something feels different in your body, not muscle pain, but as if gravity itself has grown heavier for those who choose to think. You open your closet and stare at your uniform. You hesitate for a moment, but you put it on, like always. Fear doesn't negotiate. It just demands obedience. You leave the house in silence. Everything looks the same, except you. At work, you're told you're being temporarily transferred to Camp 17. No one tells you why. You arrive around noon. The sun is brutal. The air feels thick. A higher-ranking officer greets you, hands you a small paper with numbers and names, and says coldly, you're in charge of internal organization. Make sure everything runs with discipline. No further explanation. And you don't ask. But what you see around you is enough. Men with frail bodies, shaved heads, exhausted faces, the smell of smoke hanging in the air. You're now standing on the edge of the truth you've been trying to avoid. You walk past a small room with a sign that reads, cleansing shower. You whisper to one of the workers, is it really a shower? He answers without looking at you. We all wash our hands in our own way. You don't fully understand. Or maybe you pretend not to, but you keep walking. That evening, you sit in a small room for officers. You eat your meal. You overhear one of your colleagues say, we've got a new shipment arriving tomorrow from Poland. Women and children. Another one chuckles and adds, work's picking up. We'll need to speed things up. You smile with them, but you're not with them. The laugh that leaves your mouth doesn't sound like yours. Is that even your mouth? Is this even your body? When did I change? The shadow inside you whispers. You didn't need to change. You just stopped asking questions. At night, as you try to sleep, you remember your father's face, how he used to talk to you when you were little, about morals, about not hurting others, about what it means to be human. You ask yourself now, did I really think evil would be obvious? That it would wear monsters' clothes? Did I think I'd see it coming and fight it? Then you hear a quiet voice in your mind. It sounds like yours, but distant. Evil doesn't scream when it enters. It wears the uniform of duty, the smell of a paycheck, the gaze of a superior. You fall asleep eventually, not because you're at peace, but because your body has gotten used to sleeping after anything, even after a crime. And as long as you didn't hold the weapon yourself, you're okay, right? A week goes by, a full week in Camp 17, where the truth isn't said out loud, but smelled and heard and seen through eyes that stay shut, on purpose. Now you know, not from proof, but from being there. You know what happens behind closed doors. You know the smoke doesn't come from bread ovens. You know. And still, you keep working. Every morning, you sign the papers. Every evening, you review the reports. Every night, you sleep. And with every moment, something inside you crumbles, quietly, like the sound of an explosion underwater. One day, as you're flipping through the names, one stops you. Elias Hoffman. You pause. The name feels familiar. You turn the page and read the details. Born in the same town as you, same street, same school. You remember a boy who used to sit behind you in class, always smiling, quiet. He'd draw birds and trees in his notebook while the teacher explained history. Could it be him? You can't be sure, but your body doesn't feel the same. The hand holding the pen starts to shake. Should I sign this? If I don't, someone else will. I'm not deciding his fate. What makes Elias different from the others? Do we only show mercy to people we've known? And what about that boy who looked at me that day? Did I know him? You close the file. Set it aside. Just for a moment. But then the voice of duty returns in your head. It's not your place to choose. You're here to follow orders. The machine doesn't stop just because you hesitate. You reach out and sign. And just like that, the last layer of who you were falls. 2 weeks later, you're given a new task. You're now in charge of overseeing a mass relocation. Clear instructions. Precise steps, everything timed down to the minute. Your responsibility, deliver a group of 500 people to the final checkpoint. During the process, a small girl breaks away from the line. She runs toward the fence, shouting for her mother. A soldier yells to you, go, catch her, don't let her escape. You run after her, grab her by the arm. She looks at you, her eyes are wide, shaking, but there are no tears, as if she already knows, without needing to hear it. She asks, are you going to hurt us? Suddenly your heart feels like it's back in your chest. Your blood rushes. Time stops, but there's no time to think. Behind you, the officer shouts, stay on task. You take the girl's hand and walk her back to the line. You step back, slowly, your footsteps fading into the smell of smoke. And in that moment, you know, Without a doubt, you are no longer the human you once were. You're now part of a tragedy you didn't create, but one you kept alive with your silence, your fear, your obedience. And evil? It was never some monster outside. It was the shadow inside you, the one you called duty. The weeks pass like you've stepped into a slow-moving time machine. You stop counting the days. You learn how to silence the voice inside you. You've gotten used to the smell of corpses. You've gotten used to following orders without question. You've gotten used to the sound of footsteps heading toward the point of no return. But every time you pass a mirror, you avoid looking into your own eyes. One day, you're called in for a routine psychological evaluation, the kind all officers go through every few months. In the room, a man wearing a grey coat sits with your file in hand. He smiles politely, neutrally. He asks calmly, "How are you feeling?" You stay quiet. You consider giving the official answer, the one that avoids problems. But instead you say, "I feel like I can't tell the difference between being asleep and being awake anymore." He looks up at you. "Do you have nightmares?" "No. The problem is, I don't see anything. I sleep deeply." You pause, then add, "And that's what scares me." He writes something in your file, then replies, "We all feel this way sometimes. Overthinking leads to weakness, and weakness is a luxury we don't have." You nod, pretending to agree, but you know the crack inside you is growing. On your way back to the quarters, you pass a young new guard. He looks unsure. He looks at you like he's searching for a way out, like he sees in you a reflection of what he's becoming. You want to say something, warn him, whisper, run, but all you say is, "Hang in there. You'll get used to it." And in that moment, you hear the shadow inside you laughing again. That's how the story begins again, a new link in the same old chain. You suddenly remember your first day on the job, your first signature, the first time you looked the other way. You remember how simple it all seemed. Trivial, just paperwork. But all the evil started right there, from the smallest action. From, "I'm just following orders." That night, sitting on your bed, you stare at your military boots, then at your right hand. You ask yourself, how many orders have passed through this hand? How many lives did I help erase without ever touching them? How many times did I tell myself, "I'm not responsible"? The shadow replies, its voice now clearer than ever. It was you, every time. You don't cry. You don't break down, because the deepest kind of pain has no way out. It ties your heart to a noose you can't see. But it's there. And so you sleep, not because you're innocent, but because you've become skilled at running from yourself. In the Holocaust, the monsters didn't have fangs. They had desks and keys and signatures and sleepy consciences. Now, after many years, the war is over. The walls have fallen. The flags have dropped. The newspapers are filled with bold headlines. Justice is coming. But no one paid attention to the ones who never fired a bullet, and yet were part of every bullet fired. You survived. You escaped trial, escaped questioning, escaped prison. But you didn't escape the mirror. You sit now in a small room, in a quiet, distant town. No uniform, no orders, no files. Everything is silent, except for one voice, a voice from inside you. It no longer whispers, it knocks. Was I evil? You can't find an answer, because you always imagined evil as something obvious, loud, someone with a knife, laughing like a maniac from a movie. But what you didn't realize, until it was too late, is that the most terrifying kind of evil doesn't need intent. It's born from routine, from silence, from every time you said, "I'm just following orders," from every moment you walked with the herd, simply because you didn't have the courage to stand alone. And now, with everything behind you, are you sorry? You don't know. Would you do it differently if you could go back? You don't know. All you know is that you were there, and when the order came, you followed it, and then you slept, just like everyone else who betrayed themselves without realizing it. Evil doesn't need a monster, only a person who chooses not to ask. In the Holocaust, it wasn't just about hate, it was about obedience, and the ones more dangerous than the wicked are the good people who did nothing.